Hello, everyone. Welcome to Money Rise, the podcast. This is your go-to podcast for everything finance and investment, brought to you by RiseVest. Rise is your digital wealth manager that connects you to the best investment opportunities across the globe. You can check us out at www.risevest.com. And your host for this podcast is Yemi. Yemi will be coming to you every other week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
As you enjoy this episode of Money Rise, please bear with us as there is some noise from construction work being done in the background. We apologize. Now, enjoy the episode. Hi, welcome to another Money Rise, the podcast episode. Today, I am starting with a quote by Frantz Fanon, where he said, "Every generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it." What this means is that each era brings forth its own challenges, its own opportunities, and its own mission for those seeking to carve their place in the world. In the 70s and 80s, Nigeria beckoned at the dawn of a new era. There was the promise of oil wealth, industries, and a rapidly expanding population. Opportunities seemed boundless, and avenues for prosperity varied from different sectors, from trading to the corridors of government power. But as time progressed, so too did the dynamics of wealth generation. Today, we are in an era shaped by globalization, technological disruption, and shifting socio-economic paradigms. Inflation is currently at over 31%. The opportunities that once defined previous generation may no longer hold the promise today. So what does this mean for Nigerians looking at gaining economic prosperity in the 21st century? How exactly do we reconcile the aspirations of the past with the realities of the present? And most importantly, what missions do we need to fulfill as a generation towards prosperity? And with me here today is Sirajuddin Adewale, popularly known as
Sirajuddin
Oyewale.
I prefer to go Siraj
Oyewale, popularly known as Sirjarus, aka Abba Striker. Hi, Sirjarus.
Hi, how are you? I mean, nice to have the RiseVest team here.
Yeah, it is nice. And thank you for agreeing to do this with us. Actually, I know how much it means.
It's okay, it's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So let's start by first, at least knowing who you are. Tell us a bit about you.
Okay, my name is Suraj. You are, like rightly said, but more known as Jarus, or Deadly Striker, or some people call Tapping Who, but don't mind those ones. First nine, I love those. I am 41, I'll be 42 in a few months' time. I am from Kwara State. I spent my first 18 years in Kwara State before I went to Obafemi Awolowo University for my first degree in economics. Fortunate to make it first class. After that, I did my NYT in Sokoto State. I came back and I started working in the oil and gas industry, Wando PLC for start between 2008-2012. I left as fixed asset and tax accountant. I moved to an upstream and midstream oil and gas company, Seven Energy in 2012. I was there for, the company was bought at some point part of the company was bought at some point by Savannah Energy, UK company. I was there until 2019. I mean, when Savannah bought Seven Energy, I was also in Savannah for 3 years, 2019 to 2022. Thereafter, I did some consulting with PricewaterhouseCoopers as a senior manager. And after that, I started my own businesses. I run a real estate company, a consulting company, a travel services company, and also a football team.
Wow. You are an accomplished man. It does look like you've come a long way.
If you say so.
So let's first start with the opportunities for wealth creation. In your case, it was you did the right thing. You went to school, and after school, you got into Ovando. Is that how it is, at least today, for people of my generation?
I mean, I believe in my generation, when I must admit that I came into the job market at the time where there were a lot of opportunities. That was 2006 to 2008. I remember there was a banking consolidation exercise, a recapitalization exercise in 2004, 2005 that was supervised by CBN Governor Charles Soludo. So what that meant was many banks merged. We had bigger organizations, bigger banks and investment firms all over the country had jobs they were doing as advisors to the mergers and acquisition and also the capitalization exercises. And so that offered a lot of, and oil and gas was also doing very well. Oil price was decently high. Downstream, midstream investment and everything. And so I would say I came into the job market at that kind of time. And so yes, there were opportunities at that time. I would not say there are no opportunities now, but maybe that's going to be a standalone question. But there are some other peculiar opportunities that exist today that don't exist in the time that did not exist in the time we entered the labor market.
Okay. Yeah. So that's going to be a standalone issue. So okay, let's just go there. Right? So what are new opportunities that are available for me? Say I go to school, I do what I'm supposed to do. What are the new opportunities that are there for me now?
Yeah. In my own case, you needed to have conventional, traditional organizations, the likes of banks, the likes of maybe some small companies, larger companies, financial institutions, big four firms, and FMCG firms, consumer goods firms like the likes of Nestle and Procter and Gamble, all of those. But now, I think the opportunities now are wider. So you can be here, without leaving your house, you can apply for jobs, you can, in our own case, we needed to walk around the VI, like we needed to go from office to office, dropping CVs, begging security guys, maybe talking to people and all of those. But in this case, you can be in your house, apply for as many jobs as possible. You can even apply for jobs abroad. We have a number of Nigerians that are currently working. Young guys have some specialized skills that are currently working for organizations that are not even in Nigeria. We have a lot of them. So those opportunities never existed in our own case. What we had was mostly a case of brick and mortar office where you had your tie on, you had to go. But now, you might start a company and my staff have spread all over the country. My executive assistant who you have been speaking with, I think, stays in Ilorin. I've only seen her once and she's been working with me for 1 year. That kind of opportunity never existed in my own generation. My legal officer, I've only seen her maybe twice. Even though we stay not so far from each other. So people have those leverages and those opportunities now. You can even be independently working on yourself. You can be a social media marketer. Not so much of such opportunities existed in our own generation. What we had were brick and mortar organizations where you needed to go and knock their door. You needed to go and queue under the sun for 2-3 hours before you did a job test. And so, I think every generation comes with its own peculiar opportunities.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So you've talked about the opportunities, but there are like challenges, or let me say economic challenges. For instance, inflation and other macroeconomic peculiarities that come with it. Inflation, for instance, we probably earn more than you did when you came into the job market. But what your money can do then, our phone cannot do today.
Oh, sure. I accept that. My first salary, which I collected, before NYC, I had a job in Vetiva, which is an investment management firm in VI. I was collecting 50,000 per month that was before I went for NYC. But my first proper job with my degree certificate was in 2008 May in Oando PSC, when I got the job in Oando, and I was collecting a salary of 163,000 per month, 2008. And after 6 months, it moved to 196,000 or thereabouts. But it still wasn't easy, to be honest with you. I could not afford a flat in I could not afford a flat in Lekki, for example. But I was still able to get a flat somewhere deep down Aja for 250,000 naira per annum. I mean, per annum. Sorry, per annum, 250,000 for a 2-bedroom flat. Then, I mean, not a low range, house, but that was a started. I know now that 250,000 will not even get you.
Probably in Ibadan. You can't get you in Ibadan.
Or in Mowe. I mean, so things have changed. I recognize, but earnings have also changed. For example, maybe not so proportionately, but we still have people today earning 800,000, 500,000, 600,000 at start. I mean, we never had that. So, in a way, you could see that the earnings have changed as well, but I would confess that maybe not as commensurate as what we had at that time. Okay. An average graduate in a bank at that time was earning 120,000, 100,000, 120,000. Big Four, the Big Four accounting firms were paying about 80, 90, 120,000 at that time. I worked in a one do I was paying 160,000 at start, which was higher than the average graduate. But I won't say unfortunately. I mean, given the economic situation today, we still have companies paying such amount today, and that leaves graduates with inability to do much with their income.
Yeah, because the way you would know that the economy is actually nosediving is that the conversation on Twitter. There was a time people used to say, if I earn 200,000 naira, the governor of this state is going to come and do this and that. Then from 200, they turned it to 300,000 naira. Then from 300, 400.
Now 800,000.
Now it is 800,000. Now it is 800,000.
Yeah.
That is how you know that things are
Moving, right?
things are moving.
I mean, in the wrong direction. Yeah. I mean, I accept, even though I won't use Twitter conversations exactly as a method, because sometimes some of the things we see online are not a reflection of reality. But in a way, because most of those things that go viral are just somebody's thought, one person's thought, and it becomes sometimes some of those things are made for clout, and someone just wants to trend. And I'm not talking about 800K now. So in a way, I mean, we could accept that, but I generally prefer a more realistic metrics to these things rather than just somebody just tweets to get some engagement.
Yeah. Okay, so you've come a long way, like as I've said, like you used to earn 160K. So can you break down your savings? Like, what did you do to be where you are today? Like, how were you able to manage your finances and everything to be able to get to?
Okay, thanks. Interesting question. I think I'm a non-conventional person, given the fact that I'm quite poor at saving. I knew myself that I can't keep money so much in bank, and having the need and not spend it, or maybe one of my friends or family member calls me and tells a sob story, a soap story, and I will not bring out the money. So what I did was to invest. And the most convenient investment I decided to do, guided by my parents, was building houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, building houses. So I got my first land in my state, Kwara State, in I think the way it works was that, of course, for the first 1 year, I mean, there was nothing I could do other than, my transport, small money to my parents, to siblings, 5,000 here and there to friends, taking care of buying new clothes myself, and just stuff like that. But after 1 year, I got a lump sum payment and I bought a land. Okay. I bought a land in my state, Kwara State. I bought 2 plots of land for, at that time, 2009, for I think a little over 200,000 naira. And I started developing it, building the house there. That's where my Kwara country home sits now. I was also my money hardly lasted to the end of the month, to be honest. Despite the fact that I was earning 163,000 in 2008, almost 200,000 in 2009, my salary still hardly, I was still complaining bitterly the way everybody's complaining today. Like, I was still complaining bitterly. It wasn't like a luxury or anything, but that's why sometimes I look at this thing and say, like, the way life is, you almost always complain about it. It doesn't mean the realities are not changing, the things are not different, but you always complain about what you are earning, especially up to a certain level. Okay, So even at that time, when I was maybe a decent earner for a graduate, 163,000K, later 200K, 183K or thereabout 2009, I still was complaining. So I wasn't big on saving. I wasn't big on investment. What I was doing was just to make sure that I bought land with a lump sum payment of 1.1 million or thereabout I collected. I bought land. I started developing it with foundation. I was sending money home for my parents to look at it, to help me buy blocks and here and there. It took me 4 years to build that house. My first house. I completed in 2013. It took me 4 years to finish it. Of course, I upgraded it, and it's now where my house is, where I stay when I'm in my state.
When you go to Kwara.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I stay when I go to Kwara. I've upgraded it, but I've completed it. It became habitable in 2013. 5 years after I started working.
Okay. So after then, what next did you do? So all you've done basically is to build houses.
Yes, I enjoy building houses because I think I'm a little bit traditional in my investment approach. I am traditional and conservative. I believe in what our parents were doing. My parents, my grandparents had a number of houses in Kwara State, and so that was what I saw. That was my definition of success. That was my definition of doing well. So I wanted to be like them, and I felt like I needed houses. So when I finished that house in 2013, 2014, I bought a land in Lagos. I was still staying in Lagos. A 2-bedroom flat in Lagos. Anyway, 2014, 3-bedroom. I got a 3-bedroom later for 500K per by 2012. Yeah.
Wow, where was that?
2012, February 2012. I moved to a house for 400K, but 400K per annum. Yeah. Later, it now reduced. It increased 500K the next year or 2 years later. So by 2014, I bought my first land. I bought a full plot of land for 2.5 million. And I struggled to raise that money. In a job not far from here, but I struggled to raise that money. So after that, in fact, I took a salary advance from my place of work. I took a salary advance to be able to afford that land. And so I was paying monthly, the company was deducting it from my salary on a monthly basis. So, and I rushed the house and I finished it in 2015.
Wow.
So, yeah, I watched 11 months. I finished the house in 11 months. A small 3-bedroom bungalow, so that was my first house in Lagos. So that was my journey to owning a house in Lagos. So after that, I've built a couple of other houses here and there. I've bought the house I currently live. I bought it, So I love real estate investment. So later, I now began to even make it a business. Like you guys, you are doing this, you are building houses. Why not start a company where you start to build house for people, build and sell the house? So that's why I now went into real estate business at some point in my career. But I've always built since 2009 when I bought my first land till now. There was hardly any time in which I didn't have
one project you were working on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my savings. So I didn't have much. It affected my liquidity. To be honest with you. It affected my liquidity. I hardly had, a lot of money in cash in bank or something. Sometimes I went broke. Sometimes I even borrowed money here and there. But I was always happy that, okay.
At the end of the day,
there's something I can touch this and say, oh,
this is my own.
This is my house. This is, by the time I was 40,
you're done.
The number of houses that, for my age, yeah.
So what do you have? Like, what advice do you have for somebody that is just starting their career today and probably is earning all 160K, maybe, I don't know, 200K or how much?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would advise anybody is that they should try as much as possible to upskill. That's the most important thing. Their salary is not going to remain that 200K forever if they invest in personal development. They should cultivate the habit of saving. I'm not good at saving, to be honest with you, but I feel like I've seen friends who are very, very good at savings. People who are not earning as much as I was, and who were not earning as much as I was earning at that time, but they still had decent cash savings. They didn't have the kind of asset I had, property exactly, but they had liquidity. They had better liquidity than I was. So if that's the route you want to pass through, if you have the discipline to do it, I will advise you, you do it. But the most important thing is that try to upskill. If you are earning very low, if your skills are something that is valuable to organizations, they pay more for it. They pay more for it. So I jumped in 2012. I got a job that moved me from 230,000 to 550,000 to 502,000 rather.
Wow.
That's about 50% increase just because I had the value that I was bringing. So sometimes, I would advise anybody starting out a career and earning not something great to find as much as possible to upskill so that those skills, when they become valuable, employers will be able to pay more for them. Yeah, more for them. Yeah.
Okay. So apart from upskilling, what strategies can you advise individuals to employ in order to preserve and grow their wealth in the face of this inflation and everything going on?
I mean, a lot of people talk about investment in forex. I mean, in foreign currency. I mean, saving foreign currency. I've seen friends do it, and it has done quite. They've been to do quite significantly something quite significant with them. I have a friend that recently bought a house behind me. He bought it for about 150 million naira. His savings over time, his dollar saving over time was what he was able to use to
buy that.
Exactly. One day just told me that, he saw my house on my WhatsApp and said, I like it. You do have something similar to this. Is this still available? I connected him with the developer, and within a week or two, the guy emptied his dollar saving, converted it to naira, and paid about part of it, and paid about almost 120 million or thereabout to buy that property. So that's something that worked for somebody else. Saving in forex may be something, although it's debatable. I mean, you can argue that from an economic angle, whether that's not exactly an economics, whether that's not problematic from an economic angle, but from a personal finance angle, I've seen it help a number of friends, and it may just be a route for other people to do. Then, I've spoken about upskilling. I've spoken about, but to be honest, I think improving your skills is, one of the easiest ways one of the easiest investments you can make, to yourself. You can also talk about side gigs. If you have some small things you are good in. I recently started consulting for people, where people speak with me and they pay me money for my time. I do that. So sometimes if you have some skills, you can decide to sell them, rather than just relying solely on your salary.
Okay, thank you very much. So what challenges do you think the average Nigerian person at least face today that was not there when you were coming up?
Okay. Anyway, I mean, it's not that I'm that old myself. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, it's not like I was living. What I was talking about was that I entered labor market 2008, 16 years ago. So it's not that, some 50 years ago, 40 years ago. But notwithstanding, I think from my own little experience, you said things that are challenges today, but not challenges in that time. Of course, there are more people looking for jobs today. More people. We have more graduates now. Then we had in 2008. You had, I'm sure I don't know the number offhand, but off the top of my head, but the numbers of graduates you had at that time competing for the jobs were fewer because you had not many graduates, not many private universities in every village like we have today. Not many universities, federal universities. So we had the graduates that were being churned out were much more. So the competition was, maybe I would say, much less stiffer. Less stiff rather. So now we have a lot of people that every skill set you talk about, you have a lot of people that know it. You have a lot of people that. So it's more challenging now, given the fact that it's more competitive now. To get good paying jobs. More competitive to get good paying jobs, and there are a lot of distractions these days. You have social media distraction, or like I was like you said, you knew me from Ireland. I was also active in Ireland in my own younger days of working.
Yeah.
But you know that there are more distractions these days. And the fraud you see a lot of people see incentives in quotes from fraud these days. You see people whose lifestyles you don't understand, whose lifestyles nobody can explain, doing wonders in quotes, buying nice cars, doing all of those things. So in our own time, not much. You read about those things in the media, maybe in soft sell. Adebende is doing this. Maurice Ibiko is doing this and all of that. But now, I mean, within every house, within every neighborhood, you see somebody. There's one guy that you can't explain his lifestyle using. So people have that incentives. People have that what I call demotivation or negative motivation to want to become rich through unsustainable and fraudulent means these days, because it's now so common, not like our time in which the only type of people you saw were people who were hardworking. I knew my brother who was hardworking. He was working in a bank. His friends were working in a bank. I saw them every day in the neighborhood. But now you see guys, people don't care. That's the longer route. Why can't I only need to hammer from one or two clients, clients in code, and I'm made for life. So people see those kind of things and they become demotivated from going the right route to doing better economically.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially the fact that there's a lot of people competing for, and the opportunities are not as much as they used to. For instance, football, like growing up, I wanted to play ball. I wanted to play ball, and
exactly.
Every now and then you'd see scouts from probably all over the place coming to Lagos and picking boys. They would say, yeah, pass. If you pass here, they'll put you in one place. Yeah. Even though it didn't amount to anything, but there was still you knew that people were coming from abroad. But now I don't think there is those kind of opportunities anywhere.
I agree. I have my team. I've sent my boss for my team to 4 trials.
Yeah, abroad?
Not abroad. I mean, one of them abroad, but that was a separate deal. But
okay.
Within Lagos, within Nigeria here, somewhere in Ogun State, we had that some guys were coming from abroad to do some scouting, and I got my team. I sent like 10 of my team boys to the place, and none of them was picked anyway, but yeah, but it took extra effort. It's not something you see on that. It took like extra effort. You have to charter a bus for them. You have to, so for such opportunities, like you said, it wasn't something that it's not something you can see in every neighborhood or every area now. So even the investment I made into getting them into those programs, they didn't have that money. Exactly. It's because it made a lot of money. Yeah, exactly. If they didn't have a sort of person like me, exactly, would not have been able to do that. Yeah.
So those are the issues. Even music, even education.
Yeah.
Education used to be the surest way.
Exactly.
Just
expensive now.
Try to read book, do what you have to do, and from there you can become some job. Exactly. But now even that,
no guarantee though. It's not guaranteed, to be honest with you. I mean, more competition, more competition, less jobs in some areas. So people, of course, I mean, one upside of that is that it has forced people to be more creative.
Which is what I was going to talk about.
Exactly, for them to be more creative. But overall, there are still a lot of people competing for opportunities, and you need to do a lot of work to stand out.
Yeah, how do we stand out? Like, for example, you said you were a first class student. I'm sure there were people in your class too that were not first class students, that didn't do as you did. They coming from Ilorin to Obafemi Awolowo and now finally being here. How do we stand out? What do we need to do?
Yeah, I mean, you can't overemphasize the fact that you need to, whatever you do, you need to do it very well. That's the most important. Substance is very important. So wherever you find yourself, no matter how small the job is, do it excellently, because people will notice you. People will recommend you for big opportunities. So the most important thing is that, the basic thing is that you have to do your job very well. Now, the second thing is that you need to be visible. I always say this. Sometimes you need to be visible. Visibility has helped me a lot, to be honest with you, whether in my corporate life, whether in my personal life. In my corporate life, I used to be the guy that used to talk. I talk in meetings. I volunteer to be part of one committee, so I was always making my own effort, volunteering for this and that, and all these things really helped my own careers too. But outside that, we realized that I have a decent amount of goodwill online.
Yeah.
And I got that from helping people. So I would recommend you, if you help people solve their problem, provide information to people will respect you, people have confidence in you, and these are the kind of things that can make you go far. When you are selling things, people will buy it because of the confidence they've had in you when they were dealing with you, when they were nothing, some of the students I was sharing information with on Naira. You said you need me from Naira Land.
Yeah.
Some of the information I was sharing on Naira Land, that the information helped people, and later some of those people ended up being my customers when I started selling houses. So over time, goodwill helps. So try as much as possible to build that credibility. Okay, don't go for the short-term gain of maybe defrauding people and all of those things. So then you have to also constantly develop yourself, read, engage in meaningful conversations. All of those things also help you to stand out.
Thank you very much. So you are at the step of your career now where you're an entrepreneur, a businessman. And because of the opportunities available to at least most of us, people are now selling things all over the place. Like there's a lot of, even though you are doing it at a bigger scale, you are into real estate. And a lot of us are forced to sell things on WhatsApp, are forced to do things on. So what are the challenges and opportunities that are associated with entrepreneurship and the likes?
No matter the scale, whether it's large, or medium, or a small scale, a major challenge is the fact that the macroeconomic variables, instability in prices of things. If you are a large organization, you need to buy diesel to power your organization, your operations. If you are a small to medium size, sometimes if it's a brick and mortar business, you need that you need to buy petrol. The prices.
Yeah, even now banks have stopped. Like my friend that works at the bank closes by 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
After 5, he used to read till 7 o'clock because he was preparing for an exam.
Yeah.
But now they've told him that once it's 5,
come on, we don't use our life for everybody is saving
extracurricular
activity.
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine an organization as big as a bank going to that extent to save their their costs. Because all those things are telling on the operation cost. I can't now imagine organizations not as big as that. So that's a major challenge for people. Okay, that's a major challenge for people. A couple of weeks or days ago, I tweeted about the fact that a customer paid my company equivalent of 15 million naira in USD. But when you needed to spend the money had dropped to 12.5 million naira just in a matter of weeks. So we lost 2.5 million without doing anything, So instability in FX. So a lot of challenge. For the macro guys, because a lot of people still don't trust a lot of online activities that are based online these days. So that also affects sales by people who are much who are into e-commerce, for example. Okay, I do not know many e-commerce firms or businesses in Nigeria that have really been profitable.
Yeah,
because of high cost of operations, because of maybe low sales due to lack of trust in online transactions these days. Except people tend to deal with you more when they know you, when you have that personal relationship with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, these are major challenges that affect businesses at all levels, whether brick and mortar, whether it's an online business in Nigeria.
So, is there a way we can navigate these challenges?
Unfortunately, I think government, it still rests with the government because the government are the enablers of business activities, that they're in charge of the macro variables. I am not, even though, of course, consumer behaviors also play a major part, but the policies are being driven by government. So if you have a government that cares about the people, you have a good coordination between the fiscal and monetary policies. I believe even the trade policy, various policies, exchange policy and all of those things. I believe that when the result of those things begin to tell on the economy, then things will be better. So it all boils down to poor policy or poor execution of good policies and citizens find themselves in a situation where they have to bear the brunt for things that are not exactly their fault. And of course, there are situations in which things are also the fault of the people themselves. For example, you have people who don't put extra effort into customer service, and that affects their sales, that affects their review. That affect the credibility of people. And you have people who don't do the right thing. For example, somebody goes and build a house on a canal, and that house is demolished, and people begin to be skeptical about real estate investment, about real estate, because of the foolishness of one person. So these are the kind of things that could affect business in Nigeria.
Okay. So now let's talk about the evolution of economic opportunities over time. Like the 70s, the 80s, the early 90s. The 70s, for instance, there was the Yom Kippur War, which led to oil boom in Nigeria. A lot of people went into the oil industry and they made a lot of money. The civil service was the largest employer of labor back then. People used to leave university and go straight to the civil service. Agriculture, even though it employs over 70% of people right now, but then it was a major industry. So how have the industries, how have they changed over time?
Okay, before oil became, oil was discovered in Nigeria in
1956.
Exact commercial quantity. First shipment happened in 1957, and but it became. Even that time, First Republic between 1960 to 1966, we had regional governments.
Yeah.
Okay, and each of the regional governments, the Ahmadu of the North, the Sardauna of the North, the Awolowo of the West, and Dr. Azikwe of the East. They had the later Michael Okpara. They had a thriving, healthy competition among them for that. So we had generally, in my own view, good leadership. So who invested much in the exactly, yeah. In the government, in the competitive products, cocoa for Southwest, for example, the current Western region, for example. So when we in the 70s, after the unification decree, and we became a federal republic, and the old was in the old regional system was abolished. Everybody now had to defer to the center.
Yeah,
we defer to the federal government, and in a way, the subnational government became collapsed exactly, yeah, exactly. And so that really affected the whole thing. So governance became far from people. The leadership became more corrupt. And so in the 1970s, when there was oil, when the government they did a lot of things. They built the NNPC refinery. They built, the first start. They built a lot of things in those era. In the 1980s, oil continued to be a major source of income to Nigeria, and we had the decent leadership that also maybe invested in some things. In the early 90s, we went into liberalization. Liberalization of some sectors like the banking sector. Liberalization by Babangida in 1989 when he offered licenses to some private players. Before then, it's only government and some individuals that used to be the owners of banking. Early 90s, they also liberalized the broadcast sector, where we had people being given the license to own TV stations, to own radio stations. Around that time, they also liberalized the oil and gas sector. The oil and gas sector also became, we had more indigenous participation. Before then, it was largely dominated by the foreign guys. So they issued license to some guys in 1991 and 1992, the likes of Sirjarus, Dr. Sirjarus, Mike Adenuga, Folawiyo, Mediribe, and all of them. They had a lot of. So we had, but most of them did not even develop the feeds. So the evolution is such that we've had some sectors that have been supported by government over time. Exactly. Unfortunately, the sectors have not really delivered so much on their promise. Okay, but we can talk about the Obasanjo in 1999 when he came in. He did. I think his own reforms. did better. Telco reforms of MTN and everybody came around. You had jobs for people, direct jobs, indirect jobs for people by the roadside, people selling recharge card, doing all of these, people making calls. You had that. So, and also, we have also had the tech revolution, which is global. Anyway, not just limited to Nigeria, global, which is the fallout of the tech development all over the world. People now have different activities you can do. You can, the podcast you are here for example, your company, I believe, is
a fintech.
Is a fintech, is that technology enabled. And so tech has also provided opportunities for a lot of people. So, I think the evolution over time is, so it's now left for people to look at, how can I fit into this current, what's the name now? What's the word now? Inting, to use the informal word. Like, how can I fit into it? I've made a lot of sales on social media. People I've sold, my company has sold more than $1 billion worth of goods from social media, from Twitter, from, in particular. So it's now left for you to be able to make the best of the opportunities that exist from the trending, means of maybe interaction or the trend technology available to you.
Yeah. So basically, what he's saying is, while the bricks and mortar industry might have not delivered, so to say, in their promise,
Exactly.
you cannot overlook the fact that there is now technological revolution.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of us now work in fintech, we pioneer this. There's Bitcoin,
Exactly.
there's every other thing that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Sirjarus.
Thank you.
So my last question is going to be, let's discuss investment generally. So we've talked about wealth preservation. So how do I go now, apart from upskilling and doing every other thing? How the money I'm earning now, how do I invest it? What do you think? What are the strategies that I can use?
To be honest with you, I won't call myself an investment strategist or advisor. It's not really my biggest strength. I stick to my traditional approach to investing, and that's what has really worked for me. Most times, if you follow me on Twitter, you see that I sometimes post some of those requests for advice to people for them to advise my friends who are more savvy in the other forms of investment. But one thing is that irrespective of the area of investment you choose, it's very important that you understand it. So try as much as possible to understand the basics of the various investment opportunities, whether it's brick and mortar investment you want to do, whether it's some form of alternative investment vehicles, money markets, capital markets, and all of these things. So I would advise anyone to pay more attention to understanding. If you don't just put your money into what you don't understand, and ultimately you get some. If you invest some of your time in understanding some of these options, then you would definitely know the one that works for you. And you can get, sometimes you may need the advice of expert investors, but you also try to read trend. If you're someone that can read trend, what is the next big thing, what's the next big deal? If you have the money to mobilize for it, you go there and all of these things. So these are my general advice I can give to people on investment.
Yeah. So I just remembered, while you were building and you were coming up, you were building houses. How were you surviving as a person?
I wasn't before I became a business.
Exactly.
investor.
Before you got here,
Before I got here, right?
Yeah, that time that you were building in Kwara, how were you surviving?
In fact, there was a time I got stranded. Like, I was so broke that the last 200 naira, I was coming from work.
Yeah.
And my staff boss dropped me at Ajah bus stop. And I was going home that day, I think maybe 10 years ago, or even I was earning decent money.
Yeah.
Where I had used all the money to just, to pay back some of the salary advance I took to finance the project, to also use part of it for the project. And I was so broke that 200 naira I needed to use to complete my transport. I had a car, but I used to
work with car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could use what's the name? Sirjarus. I struggled to get that 200 naira. And so it was it wasn't easy, to be honest, but it's discipline. I mean, I'm somebody that can survive almost any situation. I can it's not good. I won't recommend it too. I won't recommend that you use all your money for project and you don't save. I won't recommend it, but I was that involved, that invested in those projects at that time. So it didn't come easy. I made a lot of sacrifice. There was a time in which I didn't have money I didn't have a car for 6 months because I was building a house. I didn't have my last car, the engine knocked.
Yeah.
And I didn't have money. I didn't want to use my money to buy the next one.
Yeah.
Because I was building a house. That was my first or second house in Lagos. I can't remember. So I was building that house, and this car can wait. Like I felt like, it's a lot of sacrifice. I didn't have a car for 6 months. After using, I think that should be around 2000, even 2000, maybe 14 or 15 or thereabout. Because I was using the money I wanted to finish that project on time, and I felt like I can't spend that time maybe 2 million or 2 on car. So let me use the money to finish. So a lot of sacrifice, and I had the supporting family as well. Understanding family, I had the supporting understanding family who also understood me. And but it's never easy. It's a lot of sacrifice.
Wow. Because I don't know. I feel like we, especially my generation,
you don't want to do sacrifice like this. One soft life. One soft life.
Yeah, that must be something like the surviving. Anyways, thank you very much, Sirjarus. I had a blast talking about everything to you. Maybe when I go home, I'll bring my book and this.
Some of the things I did, to be honest, I won't recommend them. I have 7 houses at the moment. And personal houses.
Yeah.
Houses either rented out or given to family members to live, or living in wherever I am in my state, in Lagos, in Kwara. One for my mom's family in Osun State, and all of that. So I enjoy doing it, and I don't have any regret. I like sitting down and being able to sit down and say,
that's my home.
That's my home. I like standing in front of it and touch it.
Exactly.
Something can touch and say, that fulfillment is my own gift, my own king. But it came with a lot of sacrifice, and I won't really, if it's not something, it's still old school, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
It's still old school. Because it doesn't bring the alternative investment that can give better returns. Okay, that can give better returns. How much do I call it? Some of those houses that I rent out, it's maybe 2 million naira per annum. How much is that? As rent. One of the houses I rented out, 2 million. My personal home told me how much. 2 million doesn't even buy me tickets to London.
Exactly.
To London. So, and I go to, but if you can, but it makes your balance sheet high, at least. If you value your asset, your net worth, you know that, this house is worth X amount, you can add them together. I'm worth this amount. But cash in bank, babu. No one.
Yeah, it's also like, if you have liquidity, you might have been spending it on
exactly. That's another thing. I'm very, very poor at. I find it very difficult to say no
to things.
Except it's very, very I say no a lot, but I would rather, if I'm in if there's something, the family member calls me and says, and if I'm in a restaurant and I want to eat with my last card, and somebody calls me and says I can send the money to the person and not eat.
Wow.
So to avoid that kind of personal inconvenience, I just felt like, I don't want to keep such a lot of cash. So I've never been big on cash. I don't believe in just stacking money in the bank and all of those. But those things, emergency can be very bad for a kind of emergency. In fact, there was a story of when I opened my house in 2013, my first house in Kwara in 2013. After I washed the house and everything, and wanted to celebrate Leah, the Salah, Muslim Salah there. So we traveled from Lagos to the place, and everybody came, we opened the house. The money to buy ram, the money to do everything, to entertain people. Money is not finished. It was my wife. My wife had to sell one of her jewelries for 400k or thereabout.
Wow.
To loan me money to use to be able to meet the basic needs of the house and everything. I paid that when my salary was paid. I repaid her, and I
She got the jewelry back.
She got the jewelry back. But she got the jewelry back. So it's a lot of sacrifice, though. It's a lot of sacrifice, but it's not a lifestyle that many people could do. To be honest with you, it's not. Some people of my generation just want to have one house
and move on.
You know, enjoy life, but stacking out. You can't live in many houses. For me, I like it. That's how I grew up. I saw my parents, I saw my grandparents, doing it, and I have some of fulfillment from it. But it's not really the good standard of personal finance or investment or living.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sirjarus. If you are listening to this, my name is Yemi, and this is Money Rise Podcast, your go-to podcast for everything finance and investment. And it is brought to you by RiseVest. RiseVest is your digital wealth manager that connects you to the best investment for your financial growth. Either you want to invest in real estate, stocks, or fixed income, you can check us out at www.risevest.com. Thank you, Sirjarus.
Thank you, Yemi. Nice having you.
Nice talking to you too.